hope everybody's having a good night tonight. It's night for me here anyways. If you're here for the first time, hi, my name is Rebecca and I'm a parenting and relationship coach, and this is my group. I go live every single week on Mondays at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. If you're watching this on the live, please make sure that you're engaged in the comments and let me know how this applies to your situation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And if you're watching this on the replay, make sure that you comment as well, because we will get you the resources that I mentioned in this video. And the more engaged you are here in the group, the more your brain basically gets the message that this is something important that we're working on. And where you allocate mental resources, your brain will then start allocating more mental resources. So the more that you comment and engage and post in the group, the more your brain will get the message that this is something that we need to focus our attention on. So last week I did a live on obedience, and tonight's live is a continuation of that. And I had a session this week that perfectly aligned with it. So I'm kind of just going to share a little bit about what happened with one of my clients this week and how it applies to this topic. So, basically something happened where the child in question, had a toy that they were playing with in the house and playing with kind of roughly, and it was becoming an issue in the home. The parent had drawn a boundary and said, don't do such and such. And the child kind of followed the rule, but did something else that was not appropriate. So basically the child was playing with a ball and the parent said, don't throw the ball. The child then bounces the ball really hard, and then it, starts knocking things over. So while the child didn't throw the ball, they bounced the ball and then caused the same sort of chaos, right? So anyway, the parent got really, really upset, and they were triggered, and they threw the ball away. So I want to kind of unpack this, because this is a really common occurrence, and it has to do with that obedience trigger that we talked about last week. So basically what happens is we learn what obedience is in our families growing up, and what is expected of children, what is expected of parents, what respect means, what it means to listen well. And so we are navigating these experiences with our child while our programming is running in the background of how our kids should be behaving, based on how we should have behaved when we were a kid, or based on what we would have gotten in trouble for when we were kids. So essentially what happens is the same thing that happens for a bully. So a child is bullied at home, doesn't have their safety needs met at home, and then when they get to school, they reverse the roles, become the bully, and in a way they regain some of that dignity that they have to give up when they're at home with their bully. And so this happens for us as parents unconsciously. So when we didn't have autonomy, when we didn't have parents who were respecting us, when we didn't have a lot of say in our choices as a kid, we had a really authoritarian parents maybe, we had to give up some of our dignity in order to maintain a level of obedience that was expected of us. And then when we become parents, the role becomes reversed, and we expect a level of obedience that we would have offered our parents out of fear, possibly, most likely. And when our kids don't give us that, it can trigger that same threat response in us, as if we are the ones in that situation misbehaving or not obeying. And what happens is our fear response is triggered, and we are responding to the situation as if it's a threat. So when that child bounced the ball after the parent said, don't throw the ball, it truly felt like there was a sense of urgency, like they had to act immediately. Like if they waited a moment to engage, if they took even a moment to take breaths or anything, that they would be sending the wrong message to the child, or that they would be allowing the disobedience or allowing the disrespect. But really what happened was the parent was responding, to 90% of their own obedience trigger and 10% what's actually happening in that moment. So when we are triggered, it's really difficult to separate the past that we're bringing into the present moment and the present moment, which is why it's so important to pause and take a couple of moments to kind of figure out what's the difference here. And for that parent, that sense of urgency and that needing to act in that moment is going to be the bell of awareness for them to actually stop and pause. When that sense of urgency is present for that parent, they know that's what it feels like when I'm triggered in this, when this wound is triggered. But yours might feel different. Yours might feel like, red hot cheeks, or it might feel like your heart is beating really fast, or it might feel like tension in your shoulders. So pay attention to your own body signals when you are triggered, when you are most likely to act in a way that you don't feel proud of looking back. Pay attention to what that feels like in your body, because that can be your bell of awareness as you are navigating these situations. So oftentimes, though, another part of this is the child's experience. So when the child doesn't feel like they have choices, or they don't feel like they have a sense of autonomy, and somebody is expecting obedience from them, in order for them to maintain their dignity, they're going to have to push back. They're going to have to offer resistance, and that's going to come out in the form of defiance. So one of the worst things we can do is exact even more punishment on them, because what we're doing is creating a cycle in which power is the currency. And so when power is the currency in relationships, trust is broken. We want relationships that are built on mutual trust and mutual respect. When the relationship dynamic is based on power, there's truly no trust. So in that situation, what happened is the child was feeling like they needed to offer resistance in order to maintain their dignity. The parent experiences that resistance, responds to the trigger, and then shifts into their own power response, becomes the bully, reverses the roles, and then takes over using punishment and threat to become the person in the position of power again. And this creates a cycle where we're both back and forth vying for power, trying to maintain our dignity. And what we need to get in the habit of doing is recognize, oh, I'm responding to my child as if they're a threat. Okay, this feels like a threat right now. Right now, what that means is I need to create for myself safety. Come back to the present moment. This is a child. They're not a threat to me. Everything is okay. Everything is safe. And we learn to soothe ourselves in that moment. And part of that might be taking space and centering yourself on your own. Part of that might be acting. But when we act, and we do need to act because children do need to respect the boundaries, we want to be really careful about how we engage, because we can engage in a way that further damages our connection, or we can engage in a way that builds trust and builds the connection. And here's the tricky thing. We can do the exact same, we can say the exact same words in a way that builds trust or breaks trust. So what the child is showing the parent is that they need help honoring that boundary. They're struggling to honor that boundary. So if the parent says something, here's what the parent should say. The parent should remove the ball. The child is clearly showing them they can't honor that boundary. So the parent is offering help. Ideally, we want to offer help in that situation, help to hold the boundary. I see you're having a hard time listening right now with a ball. I can help you so that we don't mess anything up in the house. And they're taking over the situation, they're removing the ball, but they're offering help. Now, if the parent says those exact same words, but the intention is to emotionally punish or make the child feel bad, or or cause the child pain because they're taking away the ball, or if there's the sense of ha ha ha, I'm bigger than you, like, oh, you didn't listen, now you lose the ball, right? If there's an element of ego in play when the parent is offering help, then the child is going to see right through that. And even if they don't have language for it, they're going to know instinctively that this is about power. So when we offer help, we want it to be without strings. We want it to be with compassion. And we want to be aware of how often we're exacting punishment, even if it's just emotional punishment. Not just emotional punishment. Emotional punishment is oftentimes more significant than physical, but I misspoke. So anyway, we want to be really aware of when we are engaged in that power dynamic, because when we are engaging in power in order to reverse the roles and regain our dignity, we are going to be causing harm to somebody else. We have to make sure that we're able to show up for the person who is showing you that they need help in a meaningful way. And so first, what we're going to have to do is center ourselves and learn to separate what part of this is my past and what part of this is my present moment. And then as I act, how am I going to act in a way that fosters trust? Now, even if you're the parent in the situation and you are stepping in to help the child, even if you're doing that with a heart that is truly offering help and offering compassion, your child's still going to struggle with that, because they're already struggling to honor the boundary. So when you are helping them honor the boundary, they're going to probably lose it even more. And so your job is to make sure that you are cultivating within yourself enough compassion to see that struggle as difficulty, rather than as difficulty holding the boundary, or difficulty staying emotionally regulated, rather than them being a pain, or them losing it, or them disobeying further. It is often really difficult for a child to hold a boundary, and it is our job to help them, but we want it to truly be help. We don't want to be causing harm as we're helping. So we want to create some space for their struggle and honor them through the struggle, and honor our own journey as well. There's going to be a part of this for you that's really important, and that's going to be the reparenting. So navigating your triggers with a healthy voice, rather than a shameful voice or an ego-driven voice, is going to be really important. So if you want our resources on navigating your triggers and reparenting, please make sure that you put that in the comments, and we will get you the resources for that. I'm going to quickly check the comments here and see if I have any questions. I don't see any questions. Maybe I need to refresh. Yeah, I don't see any questions yet. If you can relate to this, put a, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me. Put that in the comments, and I will know that you are one of the people I'm speaking to. So the other thing that we want to remember on this journey is to be really, I hear you. Thank you for commenting. We want to be really gentle with ourselves on this journey, because oftentimes, if you are struggling with this, you didn't have a parent who offered you meaningful help when you were struggling. If you're struggling with this trigger, by nature, you probably didn't have someone showing up for you. You probably had somebody making you obey, bulldozing over your feelings and not including you as part of the resolution, and not having a resolution at all, making you stuff down your feelings. So when your child is triggering you and you find these words flying out of your mouth, or you find this anger that's building up and boiling over, you want to acknowledge the fact that this is a new skill for you. And it's also really important to recognize this is a skill. Learning to identify your triggers is a skill. Learning to respond to them differently is a separate skill. Learning to respond while offering true help instead of emotional punishment is a skill. So all of these things are going to take practice, and we want to be gentle with ourselves as we're practicing. We deserved to have somebody showing us how to do this, and we didn't have that. So at the same time as we're practicing with our kids, we're also practicing for ourselves. It's healing for ourselves when we hear the gentleness that we offer our kids, and often quite painful. Yeah, I have a commenter saying that also my childhood shame was the punishment. Exactly. So a lot of us had parents who used emotional withdrawal or emotional punishment as the form of punishment. So stonewalling or disappearing or things like that. And that is extremely painful. So if you find yourself doing that in your relationships with your kids or your partners, your job would be to start working on that wound and recognizing, what did you deserve in that moment? You deserved a parent who was clear with you when they needed space, why they were taking space, and when they were going to come back. So you deserved a parent who was able to say to you, I'm too grumpy to talk about this right now. I'm going to go take some breaths in the bathroom because I love you, because you deserve to be spoken to with kindness. I'm going to go take some breaths. As soon as I'm done breathing, I'll come back. And then have them come back. You deserved somebody who showed up for you even when they needed to take space. You deserved somebody who used kind words, and you didn't have that. So when you don't see that as an option in your tool belt, you're going to pick from the tools that you have available. And the tools that you have available right now are the tools that were modeled for you. So be really gentle with yourself. Even if you told yourself, I'm never going to do this to my kids, I'm never going to make my kids feel like this. When I have kids, I'm going to do it differently. That intention, like you not being able to carry that intention doesn't have to do with a flaw in your character as much as it has to do with the fact that when you look at your set of tools, you don't have kindness as one of them. You don't have gentleness as one of them. You don't have taking space with love as one of them. And so what we're doing is replacing those tools that you have, those dysfunctional tools, with tools of kindness, with tools of vulnerability and honesty and tender, loving care. You deserve those tools to be used with you, and so do your kids. So as you're on this journey, know that this is a lifelong journey, and be gentle with yourself. If you are somebody who is really ready to take the next step, and you know that you're the type of person who needs somebody to hold you accountable and offer you help that you need beyond watching these videos, please let me know. Reach out to either Christina or myself, and I'll make sure that we fit you in the program that will work well for you. We can talk about, what's going on in your family and what your goals are, so that you can create the family dynamic that you've always wanted. It's really difficult to do that on your own. It's possible, and for some of you, you can just make your way through all of the videos that I've posted and all of the free resources, and you'll get pretty far. But for some of you, you'll need one-on-one help or group help. And it's a really beautiful thing to learn these skills in depth with other parents who are navigating these same situations as you are. It's really powerful, really healing work. And it's one of my very favorite things. So if that is you, please let me know that you are interested in just finding out more. And if it's not a right fit, I can make recommendations for books for you or other programs that might be a better fit. But know that there is healing for you. And it is my honor to do that with the families that I work with. And be gentle with yourself. I will see you next week. Let me check the comments one more time just to see if I don't see any questions here. So be gentle with yourself, and I will see you next week. You're so welcome. Okay, bye-bye.